most of the time it's 3 minutes. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's like 4 or 5, but it's usually 3 minutes. And when I saw Saylor tweet at Satya Nadella, I thought, okay, I have to let him get the 3 minutes instead of me. Like, he's interested in talking to Satya Nadella. Let me try to reach out to him. And, one thing led to another, finally contacted him.
Cyber Hornets.
Yeah, exactly. And just offered him my 3 minutes. He was, very generous with his time. And when we spoke, he said, listen, like, let's try to get in front of Satya. Why don't we offer them to withdraw the proposal in exchange for me meeting with Satya? And I feel at liberty to disclose this because Saylor said it publicly on Twitter. And so I said to Microsoft, like, we'll withdraw the proposal and not submit one in 2025 and not submit one in 2026. If you just agree to 1 hour meeting with Saylor, he'll sign an NDA anywhere you want in the world. And they said no. Like, they would rather just expose their company to a lot of like negative press, obviously, publicly fumble. I mean, yeah, like, and that just shows you how close-minded they are and how early we are. I don't think every company's that close-minded.
Were they annoyed by this?
They didn't seem annoyed. They just were sort of like,
you guys run your thing. We don't care. We're not going to do this. We don't think you can get the votes.
Yeah. To me, it's like a sort of a blockbuster moment, not buying Netflix. And also Microsoft very famously didn't get involved with smartphones in like 2008. So it's just another one of those moments.
Yeah. To have gotten the proposal approved, how many votes would you need? What percentage?
It'd be 50%.
So you need more than 50% of the votes to say yes, and then you could actually get this done.
Yeah.
But that would just be a study.
Yeah. For now, hopefully with a different SEC and less bias, we can sort of start to push, the envelope on requesting bigger things like an allocation. But you have to be careful. And so there's a way to do this without, sort of setting the wrong precedent.
Okay. It only got 0.5% approval.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at it like, oh, nobody wants this. But really, there's a lot of large asset management firms that own huge blocks. I think BlackRock in particular, Microsoft owns like 10 or 12%. Is that right?
So they own 7%, I think 7.5%, but they control like 12% of the vote because a lot of people are not voting their shares. Mm-hmm. So it's not like 99.5% of Microsoft shareholders don't want this. It's not exactly like that. It's more like you have the top 5 asset managers and the top 2 proxy advisory services, ISS and Glass Lewis, who basically advise the pension funds on how to vote. So when you have like those 7 right there, they're controlling 90% of the vote, just them. So if you go 0 for 7 on them, you're already at like
90%.
Exactly. So approval. If we just flip BlackRock, we're already at 12%. Mm-hmm. So it's just like it goes in chunks. It's not like a vote for a president.
All right. You talked to BlackRock about why they voted no.
Not just me. I invited Parker Lewis to join that conversation. Yep. And when I talked to Geode Capital, I also invited Andrew Hones and Jesse Kobernick. I'm trying to like pass the ball to pros in the Bitcoin community as much as possible. Someone's better than me at convincing them. Let them do it. Like I let Saylor speak. So I spoke to, it's really the investment stewardship department at these companies that decide. I think a lot of people don't know that. Like a lot of people look like, oh, well, you see a lot of stuff on Twitter like, oh, well, BlackRock's definitely going to vote for it. They're buying up all the Bitcoin. I wish it worked that way, but how it really works is BlackRock owns thousands of companies. Every company has 10, 12, 13 directors up for vote and 5, 6, sometimes 10 shareholder proposals. They have tens of thousands, sometimes 100,000 items a year to vote on, which is a lot of research that they have to do going into it, right? And so they have investment stewardship departments that all their job is just to vote shares for every company, okay? And they vote on behalf of their clients. They're not, and what happened, unfortunately, a lot of these investment stewardship teams are staffed, I'm going to be polite, with sort of pro ESG people.
Old school.
It's a mix of like old school and like sort of woke millennials that see the world in a very specific kind of way. And so they're sort of hesitant towards Bitcoin. So even if BlackRock's going up and buying a lot of Bitcoin, there's a disconnect there. And so what we have to do is we have to convince them, because remember, like now we submitted Amazon. It's the same exact people. I don't want to dox them, but it's the same people vote, like literally the same people voting on that proposal. So we have to.
You think that they're going to vote yes?
On one hand, there's negatives and positives to it. Like they seem to have made their mind up. On the other hand, instead of just having like 15 minutes with them, we now get more time and more time with them. So we get to like more exposure to this issue. A lot of them were naive on on Bitcoin, like completely naive about it. And so we just get another shot at orange pilling them, so to speak. And so there's some good part about that. You getting to engage with the same people. And I wasn't saying they weren't all closed-minded. Like there was some open-mindedness but you know, they're not. 99% of shareholder proposals on any issue doesn't pass. And so when you have a brand new shareholder proposal at a company that's like already successful, I think I saw you say this on Fox the other day, like Microsoft's already successful. Like why do they have to rock the boat? So they're not going to rock the boat at a successful company on a first ever proposal. Once they have more exposure to this, I think that there's a better chance to sort of build momentum and sort of get that number up in the future. And
so Microsoft, because it was only 0.5% approved, you can't resubmit for a couple of years.
Yeah,
on
you have to pass.
Bitcoin for Microsoft.
You have to pass 5%.
So really what's important is should you go to companies that have really big retail shareholder bases?
Right. Okay. So that's a really good idea. And I'm looking at that too.
I only got one good idea.
Yeah.
So there you go. You got my good idea.
Yeah. So there's a couple different things that I'm looking at.
All right.
One, it's companies that have a lot of cash. So that's why I submitted to Amazon and Microsoft. So because they have the biggest problem. Two is companies that are more likely to do something like this, like a smaller company that might not have a lot going for them, that's not really successful. You know, they might throw a Hail Mary. They might be more likely to throw a Hail Mary and purchase Bitcoin. And then the third thing is, who are the biggest shareholders? Mm-hmm. So I think that it's worth submitting to all, you know, different kinds of companies and just seeing how it plays out.
You go do Berkshire?
The deadline passed already this year, so we already submitted something else there. But definitely next year. Why not? You know, they have a lot of cash.
Come on.